Et voyons donc, c'est qui ça, l'antipode?
Et on est de retour pour le programme principal de la soirée. Encore du Trumpisme, parce qu'on va être pogné avec pendant 4 ans, peut-être même plus.
Ouais, ben j'imagine que Kat avait trouvé des arguments, quelque chose à rajouter à propos de
Ouais,
l'histoire des. Comme j'ai regardé juste le début, là, ça parlait encore de l'histoire des chiens puis des chats et des
ouais.
immigrants qui mangent des chiens puis des chats. Puis tout, j'imagine que Kat Black a des perspectives intéressantes à ajouter
Ouais,
là-dessus.
moi je la trouve assez. Je trouve qu'elle a quand même quelque chose de plus d'apporter de l'analyse standard à gauche en général. Fait que c'est pour ça que je l'avais mis là. Fait que c'est ça. Non, même qu'on avait un autre Cat Black un peu plus court qu'on ne vous a pas passé à soir. J'aime bien son stock, sincèrement.
Ouais, ben, c'est cool.
C'est,
Content que tu aies découvert ça.
ouais, c'est une créature de contenu que je découvre récemment. Fait que,
Moi aussi, ça fait pas longtemps que je regarde
ouais.
son stock, mais ça fait longtemps qu'elle en fait. Là. Elle était comme là, presque une pionnière des essais sur YouTube. Là.
Fait qu'on commence ça. Truth behind Donald Trump races.
What's the strangest thing you've eaten? About a year ago, I made the mistake of giving a man the chance to take me on a date. And on this date, he took me to a little Mexican bar in Silver Lake, where he invited me upstairs to try a delicacy of his own choosing. Now, I usually don't put strange things in my mouth on a first date, but I figured that I would give him the opportunity to surprise me. So he orders an appetizer, and it comes out on a little wooden plate, accompanied with a little glass of very strong liquor. And on this plate, there were various little crackers that were all multicolored and had a very unique texture. I often consider myself to be a pretty adventurous eater. I mean, I love pho. And so I thought I would be a good sport and just try it. And as I chewed on this very strangely textured cracker and slowly but surely drank my little stone glass of liqueur, I asked him what exactly I had just put in my mouth. And he told me that I had apparently just consumed a fried cricket. Suffice to say, there was no second date, and I think I'm done with men for a while now. But we're not here to talk about my poor dietary choices. We're here to talk about a rumor started by a neo-Nazi about the dietary choices of immigrants currently living in Springfield, Ohio. A racist trope that's been repeated time and time again. The idea that these immigrants who just came to the country are after your cats and dogs. A rumor that has since left the Haitian immigrant population of Springfield, Ohio, afraid for their lives. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Hi, my name is Kat Black, and I like to think that I make content for introspective hot people. And if you're here, I'll assume that's you. And if you're brand new here, you know exactly what to do if this video pleases you. Click my button and join us right here on the channel. Now, I'm sure you guys know this, but during Donald Trump's recent debate with Kamala Harris, he referenced a rumor about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, consuming cats, dogs, and other animals.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
During the debate, he was actually fact-checked, and he was told that officials from Springfield, Ohio, have not reported any incidences of animals being abducted and used as food.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
But Trump and JD Vance would actually double down on these claims and dig their heels into the ground, insisting that this is indeed a very real issue happening in Springfield, Ohio.
The governor, the Republican mayor of Springfield, local and state police have all said they have no evidence that people's pets or local geese have been eaten. What are you basing those continued claims off of if they are saying they don't exist?
Well, Taylor, I said from the very beginning, I'm basing them on residents who are coming to us, in some cases 911 calls, people who are telling us that they're seeing these things. And again, between the American media or between residents who are telling me through firsthand accounts of what they're seeing, I'm going to listen to the residents. Now, of course, the residents could be lying to me, but I've seen no evidence that they're lying to me. So I choose to continue to try to believe them, to try to talk to them, and to try to hear their vision. And again, if you look at all the things the residents tell us, we're giving 12 different examples of problems that have happened in Springfield because of an influx of 20,000 migrants.
Now, part of the reason why I wanted to make this video is years ago I made a video called The Rebranding of White Nationalism. And I was having this conversation, obviously, because my ultimate fear was that white nationalist ideas would actually gain some prominence within our government. And that video, and I have never experienced anything like this before, was actually forcibly privated by YouTube. And this was really frustrating to me at the time because when they privated that video, I had been dealing with a lot of harassment around what I was saying in the video, which was essentially that white nationalism has been rebranded and is gaining prominence within the GOP. And one of the main ways that white nationalism is able to be rebranded and to thrive after being rebranded is through plausible deniability. Now, a very central part of white nationalism is this concept of the Great Replacement, which is essentially a circumstance where people of color outbreed white people. It's not genocide in the classic sense of, people came together and killed all the white people. It is actually just the idea of especially immigrants coming into this country, maybe even having children with white women or white men, and slowly but surely getting rid of the white race as we know it. The Great Replacement theory is often referenced by Trump supporters like Elon Musk, who speaks pretty openly about the low birth rate and the fact that we need to be having more white children. And the thing about it is that some of the things that white nationalists reference do touch things that are very much real. The world is indeed experiencing low birth rates. And in America, this is especially noticeable amongst white people. It is a little bit more common outside of America for people to have large families. So the way that a lot of white nationalist tropes are rebranded and then clinged onto is by referencing something that may be partially true. And they take those little slithers of truth to then argue that other more extreme things are true. And that is supposed to encourage widespread antagonism against everyone who is not white. So in order to fully understand Trump's statements, I do think we need to have a little bit of history about Springfield, Ohio. Springfield was massively successful during the Industrial Revolution. In fact, people from all around the country would come to Springfield to work within the factories. However, as those manufacturing jobs left Springfield, so did the population. And by 2011, Springfield, Ohio was listed by Gallup as the third worst city in the country for equality, health, and well-being. In response, the city started several different revitalization efforts, such as Welcome to Springfield, which primarily targeted immigrants, which encouraged them to come to Springfield in order to increase the population and also the economy. Haiti's economic situation has been a mess for quite some time. And for that reason, a lot of immigrants from Haiti have come to the United States. In the past 4 years, between 12 to 20,000 Haitian immigrants have emigrated into Springfield, Ohio, increasing its population by 20%. So naturally, there has been a period of adjustment. And Springfield's Republican mayor, Rob Rue, has stated that Haitian immigrants are currently causing a burden on local social services. While many Springfield residents welcomed their new Haitian neighbors, there were plenty of people who felt that the new immigrants in the community have made the community less safe, especially when it comes to unlicensed drivers.
Qui mettent de la pression sur tes structures. C'est les gens. C'est les gens que les structures sont là pour desservir.
Exact.
C'est des résidents. C'est pas
ça.
parce qu'ils sont haïtiens que ça met plus de pression sur tes structures. C'est des gens. Il y a plus de gens, plus de pression.
Fait qu'il faut absolument que tu finances plus tes structures. Tu sais, moi, écoute, je trouvais que c'était particulièrement vrai dans le cas de Donald Trump quand il disait « They eat the pets of the people that lives there ». Comme si les Haïtiens, c'était pas des gens that lives there.
Oui, exactement. C'est la même affaire quand Boucardio dit qu'on a divisé la classe ouvrière. Des personnes avec d'autres identités font aussi partie de la classe ouvrière. Si on ne peut pas reconnaître leurs droits aussi, puis leurs besoins de représentation, puis le besoin de lutter contre leur discrimination, ben on n'y arrivera pas. On n'y arrivera pas en tant que gauche. On n'arrivera pas à nos objectifs d'aider la classe ouvrière si on n'aide pas toute la classe ouvrière.
Oui, c'est ça. Les ouvriers, ils n'ont pas juste des droits en tant qu'ouvriers, ils ont des droits en tant que d'autres choses qui sont aussi là.
On the road. In 2023, an unlicensed Haitian driver crashed into a school bus, injuring several children and killing one. And this one incident led a lot of people who were already starting to feel a certain way about the new Haitian immigrants in their community to voice their complaints, to the point where it got the attention of outside interlopers who would come to Springfield, Ohio to capitalize on the increasing tension. The parents of the child who lost their life came out and said that they did not appreciate neo-Nazis using the death of their child to justify hate, but they still continued to use the incident as a way of encouraging people in the Springfield community to build up xenophobic feelings against Haitian immigrants. A year after the crash happened, neo-Nazi group Blood Tribe decided to hold a march in Springfield where they brandished weapons and openly waved Nazi flags. The leader of this neo-Nazi group went to a Springfield City Council meeting where he made the promise that as long as there's an increase of Haitian immigrants into Springfield, there will be an increased violence against them. Now, quite often when Trump complains about immigrants, he's complaining about illegal immigrants, people who came to this country already breaking the law. But the Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio are here legally on temporary protected status, a status that allows them the ability to work, especially because, tale as old as time, Haitian immigrants are taking jobs that Americans do not want. These Haitian immigrants only came to this community because there were jobs there for them. But anyway, because they can't pretend that the issue
de protéger pour les immigrants temporaires, ils considèrent que ça c'est pas légitime puis c'est pas légal, donc eux aussi sont, même s'ils sont là de façon tout à fait légale puis qu'ils ont fait toutes les bonnes affaires, sont quand même illégaux parce que les lois qui ont été utilisées, ils considèrent que c'est pas constitutionnel, que c'est pas légal parce que ça va à l'encontre, whatever, des funding fathers, some shit.
Ouais, non,
c'est tous des illégaux, là. Genre, le statut de protection est pas légitime, donc c'est des illégaux pareils. Il n'y a pas d'immigrants légaux.
Mais non, c'est la même tactique qu'avec les neurodivergents. Même les gens qui ont des médicaments de manière parfaitement legit, c'est des accros. Ils remettent en question
on est des junkies.
On est des junkies, fait que c'est ça.
La prescription, c'est une prescription pour être un junkie.
Exactement. Fait que c'est ça, c'est pas correct. Il n'y a pas de gens correctement médicamentés pour les dysfonctions
cognitives. Dans le fond, je ne suis pas médicamenté.
Non, mais on, en tant que groupe, tu fais partie du groupe qui est touché.
Is legality, because spoiler alert, it's not about that at all, but we'll get to that later. They have to fabricate these stories about immigrants eating cats and dogs, one of the most outdated tropes that has been used against multiple immigrant groups. But let's talk about how this rumor actually spread. Around the same time Blood Tribe was making their march through Springfield, there was a Facebook group called Springfield, Ohio Crime and Information. There was a post made by 4-year Springfield resident Erica Lee, who claimed that her neighbor had her cat abducted by Haitians who were apparently stringing the cat up on a tree to eat it the way that they would consume a deer. Side note, I do kind of think it's funny the lines people draw, but Anyway, the Post also stated that Haitian immigrants were stealing geese from a local park and also consuming them as food. It was written like a warning for people to be careful about their animals and to explicitly look out for those sneaky Haitians. As it turns out, this was a story told to Lee by her neighbor, Kimberly Newton. When reporters tracked down Kimberly Newton and asked her for more information about this, her story sort of changed a little bit. She started to say that it wasn't really her, it was a friend, but not really a friend, it was like an acquaintance of a friend. And that she was not really the best source for this particular story. And she would also, for whatever reason, state that she herself was partially black. As we know, being black means you can't be anti-black, and being LGBT means you can't be racist. And she was actually pretty offended by the idea that she started a racist rumor, which... Girl, I really don't know how to explain it to you, but there's a reason why you believed that. We have these biases against Haitian immigrants that have thrived within our pop culture. Haiti has long been associated with voodoo, which has long been stigmatized by the Christian church. And sure, while there may be some voodoo practices that may include animal sacrifice, at the end of the day, there's nothing about somebody being Haitian that necessarily means they practice voodoo. And again, despite the fact that the mayor of Springfield has come out and stated that there have not been any reports of animals being...
Pas random, là. Genre, c'est pas ils volent pas des chiens puis des chats pour faire des sacrifices, puis c'est pas de ça qu'il était accusé non plus, mais je veux dire, cette partie-là qui est véridique, ouais, genre des entrailles de poulet puis des affaires de même, genre... Genre des poulets puis des cochons, puis genre, tu peux éthiquement sourcer tes sacrifices animaux si ça fait partie de ta tradition puis de ta culture. Là. Éthiquement et légalement sourcer tes animaux, parce qu'il y en a qui ont ces pratiques culturelles-là, puis ils sont permis de le faire et de les avoir. Là. Mais ça non plus, ça veut pas dire que tu vas voler les chiens puis des chats des autres. Là, tu sais. Genre, c'est permis de tuer des animaux, soit dit en passant, là. Je veux dire, on en mange des millions,
Ouais, non,
des
c'est ça.
millions tous les jours.
Ouais,
On
ouais.
tue des animaux pour de la recherche aussi, puis on tue des animaux parce qu'il n'y a plus de place dans les refuges. Puis
Ouais, non, c'est ça.
c'est légal dans plusieurs cas de tuer des animaux.
Ouais. Ouais.
C'est ça. On peut revenir là-dessus, sur l'éthique de penser.
Ouais, non, mais je veux dire,
Le spécisme et tout le kit, mais dans la civilisation dans laquelle on vit. Là.
Mais
la civilisation occidentale.
Mais c'est pas plus ou moins éthique les pratiques des vaudous haïtiennes que les pratiques occidentales de mise à mort des animaux. Là. C'est pas spécialement pas le propre des Haïtiens. Là.
C'est comme genre, ils vont faire ben du flafla à propos de la bouffe halal parce que genre, ils égorgent les animaux puis ils les suspendent pour les vider de leur sang, genre. Mais c'est pas pire que qu'est-ce qu'on fait pour n'importe quelle usine à viande, n'importe où.
C'est pas ça qu'on fait, nous autres, tu sais.
Ben, à part pour, genre, vider le sang, on laisse le sang dans les animaux puis on le mange, on aime ça manger du sang. Je sais pas. Ce n'est pas une si grosse différence que ça. C'est juste qu'il y en a un que c'est evil parce que c'est lié aux pratiques culturelles de religion qui est elle-même liée à des populations non blanches.
Répétez après moi, on n'est pas raciste au Canada.
Mais je veux dire, moi personnellement, si dans ta pratique religieuse, ça inclut des sacrifices animaux, si t'es pour le faire, ben je préfère que tu le sources de façon éthique. Puis il y a moyen de le faire encore pour ceux qui...
Ouais, là, moi, m'a dit de quoi, là, c'est pas parce que quelque chose me semble weird que j'ai nécessairement des préjudices contre ça, ou en tout cas que des... C'est pas sur cette base-là que je vais juger si c'est une bonne chose ou pas.
Tu peux trouver ça weird tant que tu veux.
C'est ça.
Mais genre... En même temps, le fait... Genre, c'est juste que même si tu prouves ça, genre, c'est pas conduisif à l'autre affaire, à l'autre accusation qui est de voler les animaux de quelqu'un d'autre. C'est juste même pas la même affaire. Genre. Tu peux faire ça, et il y a plein de gens qui le font sans voler les animaux domestiques de d'autres personnes, en fait. Parce que c'est même pas la même espèce, genre. Tu veux pas un chat et un chien.
Ouais, puis ça se peut même que tu aies toi-même des animaux domestiques, puis c'est pas eux autres que tu vas sacrifier, tu sais.
C'est pour les manger ou c'est pour faire du voodoo, là? Branchez-vous, là, les avec votre racisme, là, genre.
Abducted by
Bref,
Haitians
il
who
ne veut
are
pas
then
amener les pratiques culturelles du voodoo, des sacrifices animaux dans cet argument-là, parce que de toute façon, il les accuse de les manger, pas de faire des sacrifices.
consuming them. Donald Trump and JD Vance would dig their heels into the ground and insist that this was a true story. And some supporters of Trump have taken to posting evidence online that has been easily debunked. While Facebook is definitely pretty guilty of helping to spread this rumor, X may actually be worse. An account predictably called End Wokeness posted a picture of a black man holding several dead geese in his hands. And they made the argument that this was a photo of a Haitian immigrant in Springfield, Ohio. However, internet sleuths would discover that the picture was actually first posted to a Columbus, Ohio subreddit, and Columbus, Ohio is nowhere near Springfield. And when you look at this picture, you may be able to tell that he's black, but you can't tell that he's a Haitian immigrant. The man who originally took the photo shared that he really regrets taking this picture. Apparently, he had just seen this man from afar and took a photo because he thought it was interesting and then posted it onto a subreddit for that reason. And it would later come out that this was actually a photo of a man working for the Ohio Division of Wildlife who was clearing these geese off of the road after they'd been hit by a car in Columbus, Ohio. And ultimately, JD Vance would essentially suggest that he was indeed making up these rumors in order to draw attention to what he sees as the immigrant crisis in his state.
Just once and for all, you again started this in part by saying that, at which Donald Trump repeated on the debate stage.
Ah, c'est pas vrai, mais je voulais parler d'autres choses, fait que fallait que j'attire votre attention. Okay.
C'est ça.
Fait qu'on sait
Maintenant
jamais
que
si
j'ai votre attention.
Fait qu'on sait jamais si ce que tu dis est vrai ou si c'est pour juste pour avoir de l'attention.
Non, mais c'est pas grave de mentir.
Oui, c'est vrai, la Cour suprême l'ont dit
buts.
que les médias ils avaient le droit de mentir. Là. C'est vrai.
C'est ça.
That, and he didn't say anything about the policies that you're talking about. He just said Haitians are eating dogs and cats. Can you affirmatively say now that that is a rumor that has no basis with evidence?
Dana, the evidence is the first-hand account of my constituents who are telling me that this happened. And by the way, I've been trying to talk about the problems in Springfield for months, and the American media ignored it. There was a congressional hearing just last week of angel moms who lost children because Kamala Harris let criminal migrants into...
sur Internet, là. C'est fucking Jack Passobiec, a.k.a. N. Wokeness, puis les autres agitateurs d'extrême droite sur X qui ont dit ça. C'est pas ses constituents. Là. La seule affaire qui est sortie de ces fucking constituents, c'est genre, hey, arrêtez le battage médiatique avec les Haïtiens parce que là, vous attirez des nazis. Puis on veut pas de nazis dans notre ville, s'il vous plaît. Puis ils s'en sont calcés. Puis là, il y a encore plein de nazis à Springfield.
Ouais,
Ils font des marches à toutes les semaines à cette heure.
Ouais,
À cette heure, il y a des nazis à Springfield.
Ouais, mais c'est parce que tu comprends pas. Les gens sur X, c'est ça, c'est constituant.
Finalement. À cette heure qu'il est vice-président, c'est toute la population entière.
who then murdered their children. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast.
After the debate, Donald Trump would post.
C'est de quoi? Moi, écoute, je m'abstiens de commenter JD Vance, là, je ferme ma gueule. Je coupe mon micro.
Ah ouais, c'est sûr qu'il n'y a rien de bon à dire à propos de lui.
Ah non. Ah, c'est ça, tu me parlais, le doigt dans le nez. Ouais, c'est ça.
Oups. Non, mais il faisait juste sa job. C'est ça. Genre, il faisait sa job. Genre, c'est genre un cas de doing your job while black. C'est vrai, moi, ça j'en revenais pas, là. Le gars, il y a d'affaires à tenir une dinde. une dinde, une goose, un oie,
Un
parce
oie,
que
ouais.
c'est sa job,
Ouais, c'est
parce
ça.
qu'il ramassait un roadkill, genre,
Hey, t'es un
bon, ben,
braconnier! J'étais en train de ramasser un roadkill.
parce que c'est ma job. Je l'amène. T'as pas vu le pick-up, genre? Le pick-up vers lequel je m'en vais avec
Ouais,
cette
ouais,
oie
c'est
qui est
ça.
marqué genre Animal Services, qui étrangement ne paraît pas dans la photo. Non? OK. Pas le droit de faire sa job quand t'es noir.
Non,
Genre,
non, non.
automatiquement. C'est louche. C'est
C'est louche.
louche.
Ouais, un noir qui
check.
travaille, voyons donc. Qui c'est qui engagerait ça, un noir, hein? Voyons donc.
C'est-
Murica!
on est allé
Murica!
assez loin.
Ah non, mais tu sais. Non, mais je veux dire. Moi, je pense,
Working while black.
non, mais je veux dire. Moi, je pense qu'inconsciemment, là, pour bien des gens racistes, il y a quelque chose. Tu sais, ils se disent pas consciemment un noir qui travaille, là, mais.
Non, mais je vais
Le
le checker,
simple
là,
fait-
puis automatiquement,
le simple fait de-
je vais le voir avec un oie, puis là, je vais
C'est
me
ça.
dire, c'est louche. Ça vaut la
C'est
peine de
ça.
le prendre en photo.
C'est
Si
ça.
ça arrêtait un gars blanc, genre, le même gars, mais habillé pareil, qui faisait la même
Ouais.
affaire, mais il était blanc, t'aurais pas pris la fucking photo. Puis personne n'aurait remarqué, personne
C'est
n'aurait
ça.
rien dit. C'est un gars qui ramasse. Y a-tu quelque chose de plus ordinaire dans la vie qu'un gars qui ramasse un tabarnak de roadkill,
Ben ouais.
genre, dans une région rurale? T'habites là, mon gars, là. T'habites, toi, avec le Kodak, soit t'habites là ou t'as déjà été là, tu le sais, c'est quoi de la vie dans dans la nature. Des fois, il y a des roadkills, puis il y a des gens qui ramassent, là, fait, mais tu sais, pas de tomber des nues. Oh, je trouvais ça intéressant. Fuck you, man. Spotted personne qui fait sa calice de job. On s'en calisse, là. Genre, il y a pas d'autre raison que, genre, le racisme internalisé de la personne qui a pris la photo et le racisme externalisé des personnes qui ont fait un battage médiatique. Moi, je suis faire avec ça. Ouais.
Ouais, non, c'est ça. C'est ça. Tu sais, de voir le racisme internalisé, comme tu dis, là, puis j'aime bien l'expression. Tu sais, c'est de dire à chaque fois qu'ils vont voir une personne racisée qui fait la même chose qu'eux autres, ils vont se dire c'est pas normal parce que dans leur tête à eux autres, c'est pas quelqu'un de racisé n'est pas censé faire la même chose qu'eux autres. Fait qu'ils vont trouver ça louche. C'est dans la perception de ce qu'ils trouvent normal.
A 911 phone call that somebody made
T'as dit de quoi?
to the Springfield police to report 4 Haitian immigrants apparently carrying ducks and putting said ducks into a gray Toyota Tacoma.
Clark County Communications.
Yes, ma'am. I got a question. This is a non-emergency line, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm sitting here. I'm riding on the trail going to my orientation for my job today. And I see a group of Haitian people. There was about 4 of them. They all had geese in their hand. They got away. I couldn't make out the first 3 of the license plate, but I got the numbers.
And despite the fact that this
J'ai vu
report included a
deux
partial
Haïtiens
license plate number, they were
dans le
never
placard,
actually
puis il est en
able to
train de faire
track
des
down
bébés,
these.
puis le bébé, il m'a regardé.
Non, mais tu sais, je veux dire, OK, il y avait des guises, OK? C'était quoi le problème, tu sais?
Non, il a même pas vu ça. C'était juste incomplet. C'est invention.
Oui, je le sais,
complète.
mais même s'il avait vu ça,
Ah,
tu sais? C'est quoi le problème?
parce que là, je sais pas, ça serait-tu un problème s'il était blanc, genre?
Ouais, c'est ça. Si c'était un blanc qui avait des guises.
4 Haitian men who were apparently stealing geese from the park. There are no actual reports of Haitian immigrants consuming geese, but what about dogs and cats? Child sex advocate Ian Miles Chong posted body cam footage of a black woman named Alexis Farrell who was arrested for consuming a cat. Apparently, Farrell's cousin had seen her on a live stream and decided to call the police when she was very clearly on drugs and acting very erratic. When the police arrived, they discovered her feet covered in blood because she had actually used her feet to kill the cat before consuming it. It's pretty clear that a combination of mental health issues and drugs led to her acting the way that she did. But it is very worth mentioning that Alexis Farrell is not a Haitian immigrant, just a black woman. And that conflation is indeed intentional because, spoiler alert, It's not actually about Haitian immigrants. While it is very true that the increase of Haitian immigrants in Springfield has perhaps caused some issues and has indeed created certain strain on certain services, it is not true and has not been proven that Haitians are abducting cats and dogs in order to consume them. But that doesn't actually matter because Haitian immigrants are just a stand-in for people of color, Black people specifically. This rhetoric was created to encourage the
de chiens et de chats dans le voisinage, genre. Un ne mène pas à l'autre, là. La réalité, c'est qu'il y a du stress sur les structures. Ça, c'est la réalité. Il n'y a pas de lien entre cette réalité-là et l'histoire des chiens et des chats disparus, genre. C'est ça. Mais ils vont dire il y a des vrais problèmes à Springfield, puis on a utilisé l'histoire des chiens et des chats pour amener l'attention sur les vrais problèmes. Mais il n'y a pas de lien, il n'y a pas de fucking lien entre les deux, il n'y a pas de lien de cause à effet, genre. En plus que c'est complètement c'est fabriqué, là. Mais genre, même si c'était vrai, c'est quoi le lien? C'est comment que tu fais du awareness pour les problèmes de manque de ressources structurelles à Springfield à cause de l'influx de population, puis le mythe des chiens et des chats disparus, genre, il n'y en a pas de lien, là, genre.
Ah, mais écoute, c'est juste le simple fait de « Ah, ils m'ont vous dire de la merde parce que je voulais vous dire de quoi de vrai. » Pourquoi t'as pas juste dit le truc vrai?
Parce qu'on s'en calissait. Genre, ouais, mais il n'y a pas de lien entre la merde que t'as dit et le truc vrai, genre. Faut que tu l'expliques, ta joke après, c'est pas une bonne joke.
Ouais, non, c'est ça.
Local residents of Springfield to be violent towards anybody that they think might be Haitian, which of course is going to include everybody Black. And there's a reason why Trump is spreading this same exact claims that neo-Nazis have been making. That's because ultimately their goals are the same. Stochastic terrorism is a type of political violence instigated by a hostile public rhetoric that is aimed at an individual or a group. And it's often accompanied by a use of very vague language that gives the person inciting the violence the ability to be plausibly denied. Since Trump's statements, Haitian immigrants have been living in fear for their lives. Haitian parents have been keeping their children at home in order to protect them from bullying at school. And since his statements, the community has received over 33 bomb threats. And this was always the intended impact of those comments, whether they came from his heart, whether they were passed down to him by his running mate, J.D. Vance, or whether he got the talking points from his rumored bedmate, Laura Loomer. And both J.D. Vance and Laura Loomer have since made their feelings about Black people very clear.
I want to shift to another topic. I've been talking to allies of former President Trump who are frankly outraged. They're alarmed that Donald Trump has been traveling with...
T'as de quoi?
Nope.
OK.
With Laura Loomer. She is someone who says she supports white nationalism. She spread conspiracy theories, including that the September 11th attacks are an inside job. She recently said that Kamala Harris, whose mother was Indian, if she wins in November, quote, the White House will smell like curry. Senator, you are married to an Indian American woman. What was your reaction to hearing those comments specifically?
Well, Kristen, I want to go back to what you said about Haitian migrants to begin with, because you didn't give me a chance to respond. Look, we don't blame the Haitian migrants for coming to Springfield. We blame Kamala Harris for opening the American southern border and
Hein?
Ça va, on tient le coup.
Ouais. Ah non, mais moi j'ai appris à plus réagir parce que...
ouais, non, mais des fois, c'est tellement gros, puis ça vient de tellement, genre, en haut lieu. Genre,
ouais, puis en même temps, je veux dire...
C'est vrai, je suis capable de...
Ouais, puis en même temps, c'est rendu ordinaire, puis en même temps, je me dis, Chris, c'est rendu ordinaire, tu sais. Parce que...
Ordinaire en esti, on est d'accord là-dessus, c'est très ordinaire.
Non, mais je veux dire, c'est rendu ordinaire, tu sais, c'est rendu...
Ça s'appelle du racisme ordinaire, en fait.
Ouais, c'est rendu banal.
inviting 20,000 people to get dropped in a small Ohio town. Now, you asked about Laura Loomer. Look, Laura Loomer is not affiliated with the Trump campaign. She said something about curry in the White House that I first read about this morning, actually, because I knew that you would ask me about it. Look, Kristen, I make a mean chicken curry. I don't think that it's insulting for anybody to talk about their dietary preferences or what they want to do in the White House. I think what Laura said about Kamala Harris is not what we should be focused on. We should be focused on the policy and on the issues. And look, so yeah, do I agree with what Laura Loomer said about Kamala Harris? No, I don't. I also don't think that this is actually an issue of national import. Is Laura Loomer running for president? No. Kamala Harris is running for president. And whether you're eating curry at your dinner table or fried chicken, things have gotten more expensive thanks to her policies. Let's talk about the person running for president of the United States, not a social media personality who supports Donald Trump.
You know, what I have kind of appreciated about this election cycle is that it seems like a lot of people just can't help but let their mask slip right now. And I think it is actually waking a lot of people up. A lot of people who might not have been alienated by all of the, I guess, subtle racism. It was never subtle to me, but I guess for other people, white people, I guess it took them longer to see. But now that they're being so much more blatant about it, I think it's waking some of those people who were not woke up. JD Vance is a cornball, and him saying curry and fried chicken was very clearly an attempt to win points from the racist white audience that is such a part of the MAGA campaign, movement, cult. I don't know what to call it at this point. JD Vance also very clearly said this because he wants for Kamala Harris to respond so that he could say
fried
something
chicken
like, why do you make everything...
C'est un dog whistle, là. C'est un dog whistle raciste. Si tu parles...
Oh,
Ton interlocuteur est noir, puis tu mentionnes fried chicken offhandedly, c'est clairement le but, c'est d'offenser, là.
Ouais, c'est comme au Québec, les saucisses 100% porc. Là. Les fachos qui se vendent de faire des barbecues avec des saucisses 100% porc pour être sûr de ne pas se faire infiltrer par des cachères, puis des blablabla, pour être sûr que c'est pas cachère. Puis... C'est le même genre de dog whistle. Là. Ici, c'est la saucisse 100% porc, de ce que j'ai remarqué. Non, mais de ce que j'ai compris de son call, c'est l'équivalent américain de la saucisse 100% porc. Là.
Non, c'est pas pire. C'est pas si loin, mais je veux dire, parce que c'est old school, là, ça date de genre les plantations, puis tout le mythe des Noirs qui ne mangent que du poulet frit, finalement. Là. C'est la bonne joke. En même temps, ils aiment ça, eux autres, le poulet frit. Ils aiment ça, le poulet frit à la matière, effectivement, des matrones de plantation, bref.
J'ai comme le feeling que c'est les gros blancs racistes qui doivent aimer ça.
Genre, dans le contexte, c'est un peu comme dire j'aimerais donc ça que tu redeviennes mon esclave.
Ouais.
C'est ça.
About race after being blatantly racist. Laura Loomer, who apparently was helping Donald Trump with the debate, great job, keep doing what you're doing, had this to say about Kamala Harris and several other black women.
Independent black woman, I don't need no man, and I'm gonna get Whitey. And I'm gonna lock Donald Trump up, just like Letitia James, right? And she goes, now you're gonna elect me, and I'm gonna lock him up. We're gonna get Trump. Like the way they talk and their little DEI Shaniqua voices, and they all have the same voice. I'm talking about Kamala Harris, Letitia James, and Fannie Willis. Like meritless DEI Shaniquas talk the same way. It's very obnoxious the way that they talk.
Now, you know, it is so funny to me listening to somebody like Laura Loomer say things like that, because she is so very clearly unqualified to do basically everything that she's doing. And yet she still feels like she can criticize the successful political careers of these black women because they are black. Right? I wanted to share this Toni Morrison quote because I think that it is so apt for the feelings that I'm feeling in this particular segment of this video. She says, the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you explaining over and over again your own reason for being. Someone says you have no language and you spend 20 years proving that you do. Somebody says your head isn't shaped properly. So you have scientists working on the fact that it is. Someone says you have no art, so you dredge that up. Someone says you have no kingdoms, so you dredge that up. None of this is necessary. There will always be one more thing. There's this way that I, as a Black person, have constantly been made to feel like I need to justify my intelligence in order to be respected, in order to not be seen.
Ah ouais, ça, là, c'est quelque chose, là. Juste le fait. À chaque quoi que ce soit qui sort de ce qui est perçu comme la normalité, là, tu te fais toujours demander pourquoi tu fais ça. Ouais, mais pourquoi toi, tu le fais pas? Pourquoi toi. Tu sais? Pourquoi le reste du monde a justifié de ne pas être comme toi? Tu sais, comme elle, juste la manière qu'elle parle. Ouais, mais pourquoi tu parles de même? Parce qu'elle parle de même. Pourquoi toi, tu parles pas de même? C'est toi qui as décidé que ta manière de parler, c'était la norme. Puis je pense à ça parce que, tu sais, elle n'a pas l'air de le dropper trop, son ébonique. En tout cas, elle n'a pas l'air de le dropper complètement. En tout cas, elle ne droppe pas l'accent comme tel. Elle a l'air de changer le
Non, mais
vocabulaire,
c'est
mais...
pas 100% des personnes
Oui, je sais.
afro-américaines non plus qui parlent fluemment le AAV, là.
Oui, ça, je sais, mais...
Il n'y a peut-être rien à dropper non plus.
Ouais, peut-être, ouais.
Peut-être qu'elle prend pas une
Ben-
white voice parce qu'elle n'a jamais eu particulièrement une black voice parce
Ouais.
qu'elle n'était pas dans ce contexte.
Ah,
culturel,
ouais,
là.
peut-être. Je disais juste ça parce que j'avais l'impression qu'elle droppait genre le vocabulaire sans nécessairement dropper l'accent comme tel parce qu'elle n'a pas l'air de se gêner pour. Mais écoute, c'est peut-être juste mon
Alors,
impression. Là.
elle a l'air à l'aise dans ce qu'elle dit, là,
Ouais.
comme l'autre petite folle qui traitait Kamala Harris de eyes, je sais quoi, genre sans prendre un break, sans genre prendre son souffle, sans attendre la réponse de personne. Là, elle t'enchaîne ça, elle, des atrocités de
Ouais.
langage comme ça, genre coup sur coup, comme de l'eau, genre, sans même
Ouais.
prendre une micro-pause, se demander qu'est-ce qu'elle radote là, genre, c'est tellement décomplexé puis naturel à cette
Ah ouais.
heure pour eux autres.
Ouais, non, mais c'est ça, je dis, ils ont normalisé le discours parce qu'ils l'ont pas édulcoré comme nous autres, c'est pour ça. Nous autres, notre discours, il est diabolisé parce qu'on l'a édulcoré.
Ouais, c'est ça. Aveu de défaite.
In the stereotypical way that Laura Loomer clearly sees Kamala Harris and many other Black women in the government. Like, there's a part of me that wants to point out that all of these Black women come from various different parts of the country. They actually don't all sound the same way. They actually don't share similar speech patterns. They're just all Black women, which of course is actually the thing that she's complaining about. DEI might as well just be the N-word at this point, right? These people are not upset that unqualified people or illegal immigrants are in the community with them. What they're actually upset with is that they have to share community with Black people. That's what this is all about, trying to alienate, trying to remove Black folks from these spaces, from the government, from any context where someone like Laura Loomer would have to, entertain the idea that she shares humanity with someone who is part of her species. Like, I'm not really a fan of Kamala Harris. I'm just going to be transparent with you. I'm not, right? But to pretend that she isn't qualified, I think, is a stretch. And that's the reality of the way that these people engage and interact with Black people, right? There is not a version of a Black person that they will accept aside from the version that helps them get elected. Like slaves, these people have no problem with Black Republicans sacrificing their humanity so that
Il n'y a pas une version des personnes racisées qui va être suffisante pour eux autres.
Mais non, jamais.
À part Boucard Diouf. Voilà. Ou les autres pique-mi.
They can use them for labor. Trump has demonstrably struggled to show that he has a large group of Black people who support him, but he will put Black people behind him at Trump rallies as a way of obfuscating the reality of his racism. And, I feel like ranting about this for a second because if you've followed me on here for a while, you know that when I first started talking about Donald Trump on here, I basically went out of my way to not say that Trump was a racist. And I did that because I knew that with plausible deniability and the way that this shit works, people were going to constantly argue that some of the things that he says, some of the things that he does are not actually racist. They're just XYZ, right? And the reality of this is that Trump has always been a racist. Trump has always been anti-Black. Trump may tokenize certain Black people around him, but tokenizing is a form of racism. And just because a Black person is, being complimented doesn't actually mean they care about the Black person, right? See, like the harsh reality of this is that Trump could not get elected without people of color, right? People of color are indeed a voting bloc. And if he specifically, exclusively targeted white people, he would not win. So having people of color in his campaigns, in his marches, in his meetings, at his events, right? All of this is just part of his attempt to get more votes from people who he is demonstrably not interested in serving. Trump very clearly sees people of color as pawns, and I think the recent Nikki Jam situation is just a great example of that. I don't know if you guys missed it, but Trump held a rally, and one of the performers at said rally was a musician called Nikki Jam, who Trump assumed was a woman, and he said this on stage.
Gold medal winner, Latin music superstar, Nikki Jam. Do you know Nikki? She's hot. Where's Nikki? Where's Nikki? Thank you, Nikki. Great to be having you here. Now you have to get... Oh, look.
He's hot.
I'm glad he came up.
It's an honor to meet.
And, this just shows so much, right? He has no idea who Nikki Jam is, but he assumes that he's a woman, right? And that if he's a woman, he's hot, he's sexy, and that's important for him to say, right? And doesn't that show so much about not only, I guess, Trump's lack of dedication to his...
Genre, la seule utilité d'une femme, c'est d'être hot. Genre, son go-to, genre, ça lui prend un compliment pour quelqu'un qui connaît pas puis qui s'en calisse c'est qui, mais que là, il faut qu'il l'invite sur le stage. Fait qu'il va dire, c'est une femme, il va dire, elle est hot. C'était son go-to, genre, la seule affaire qu'il peut trouver à dire à propos d'une femme. She's hot. Mais là, ça donne que c'est pas une femme. Il peut pas, genre.
Je pense que c'est la seule chose qui l'intéresse chez une femme aussi.
Ou sinon, c'est la seule valeur qu'une femme peut avoir à leurs yeux, c'est d'être hot et ou de leur faire des enfants. Là. C'est bien quand ça va les deux en même temps, en plus. Là, mais je veux dire... en plus de juste genre assumer que c'est une femme parce que son nom, c'est Nikki. Tu sais. Fait que tu peux pas... c'est une femme, c'est sûr. Genre, genre, à quel point ils s'en calissent même du monde qui vont monter sur le stage avec lui pour genre pisser son derrière devant tout le monde, genre. Les tokens, ils s'en calissent autant là, de ce monde-là. C'est un token puertoricain. On sait à quel point ils s'en calissent des tokens des puertoricains. Là. Ils valent pas un paquet de suitou là, à ses yeux. Là. En partant, puis ils s'en calissent de lui avec. Là. Ils s'en calissent trop pour savoir de quel fucking genre qu'il est avant qu'ils viennent y serrer la main sur le stick. Ah, les gars.
Puerto Rican.
Ouais, non, c'est ça. C'est des tokens. C'est des tokens. Le monde qui vote contre leurs propres intérêts, soit c'est des privilégiés qui croient à de la propagande, soit c'est des tokens. Tout le temps.
Voter base, but also the way that women within his campaign are really only viewed as sex objects that are supposed to encourage people to vote for Donald Trump. And not that that was a mystery. You can look at almost any like MAGA-centric TV show and basically piece that together. You will mostly see Trump interacting with Black celebrities. You will not see him really do a lot of direct outreach specifically to Black voters, even the ones who are eager to vote for him. And on the subject...
Ça leur arrive-tu de tokeniser un noir pauvre? Non. On en parlait tantôt, puis encore.
Ben non, parce que les
On n'a pas vu l'exemple contraire. Non, mais je trouve ça drôle qu'elle ramène le même.
Ouais, ben non, mais tu sais, c'est parce que les Noirs pauvres, c'est des drogués, puis des crackheads. C'est ça.
Des crackheads.
Subject of tokenizing J.D. Vance's wife is Indian American.
Do you condemn the Proud Boys, even if it's just 12, even if it's just one marching in Springfield?
Dana, I condemn all white supremacists. I'm obviously not. I'm married to a non-white person. I don't like these people.
Justement, avec des swastikas sur leur drapeau. C'est pas des Proud Boys, là. Genre, c'est pas juste. Genre, nous autres, on le sait que les Proud Boys, c'est des néo-nazis, mais eux autres, ils sont comme encore obligés de faire semblant de pas l'être. Mais à Springfield, c'est pas des Proud Boys qui marchent dans la rue, c'est des néo-nazis affichés.
Puis même à ça, il sait pas quoi répondre.
Mais c'est probablement ses propres mots aussi, là, qu'elle lui répète, là, mais.
But I think that we have to keep our focus not on 12 marchers going down the street, but on the fact that thousands of residents have had their lives destroyed by Kamala Harris's policy.
And I know that there's a lot of people who don't understand this, but I felt the need to talk about this because this is something I think a lot of people don't get. I used to live in a predominantly white conservative area, and I got a lot of attention from white conservative men. A lot of white conservative men fetishize the idea of a woman of color submitting to them. Usha Vance is accomplished, right? She has intelligence. And there's something that a lot of conservative men really enjoy about taking a very smart and accomplished and powerful woman and turning her into a bang maid and wife. To some white conservatives, Usha Vance represents the empowered woman who put aside all of her intelligence and accomplishment in order to perform a traditionally feminine role within her relationship. And for a lot of conservative men, that is like kryptonite. And the thing is, I didn't really start to feel like
sa relation avec sa femme. Là. Je trouve qu'elle stretch un petit peu, à moins qu'elle ait des informations que je connais pas. Là. Peut-être qu'elle a encore ses ambitions de carrière, puis sa vie personnelle, puis tout le kit. Là. On peut pas assumer, même si c'est le même qui la présenterait, puis encore là, je pense pas que c'est le cas, que c'est juste une trad wife. Genre. C'est de même qu'eux autres vont la lire, parce que de toute façon, ça sert à rien d'autre, une femme, là, mais genre, on peut pas juste assumer que parce que c'est la conjointe de cette ordure-là, qu'elle a été obligée de tout abandonner.
Non, mais
peut-être qu'elle est capable d'y tenir tête à fucking J.D. Vance, là. Bref,
oui,
peut-être,
mais ce qu'elle est en train de dire, c'est que c'est comme ça que les conservative men vont le voir. Donc, c'est comme ça que les autres membres du Parti républicain vont le voir. Moi, en tout cas, c'est le même, je le comprends. Là. C'est le même que les voteurs vont le comprendre, indépendamment de la dynamique interne réelle entre les deux personnes. Là.
Je trouvais qu'il y avait un petit peu trop de projection de certaines choses sur une personne dont on ne connaît pas vraiment les détails de la vie privée tant que ça. Là.
Ouais.
Mais encore là, peut-être que je me trompe.
Ouais, ça se peut, écoute, les deux analyses
Bibi, bonjour. Bienvenue à l'Antipode.
Ah, qui ça j'ai manqué? Nambibi, bien le bonsoir.
Qui disait à peu près comme toi, en fait. Ouais. Ben, c'est peut-être moi qui comprends mal. En tout cas, tu mets un ticket modérateur là-dessus. Là. Je ne m'avancerai pas à parler de sa vie à elle parce que j'en connais pas grand-chose. Puis j'ai pas l'impression qu'il y a beaucoup de choses qui ont été mises très publiques à propos de ça. Bref.
J.D. Vance was intentionally torturing his wife until I found out that she apparently is a vegetarian, and the very first stop that she made with J.D. Vance was to a butcher shop. You can't convince me that that wasn't intentional. There are so many other businesses to visit. It's pretty clear that even amongst Republican men who may, for whatever reason, admire J.D. Vance, him putting his wife in that position and essentially embarrassing her is something that they enjoy. And you might find yourself asking, why are Black Trump supporters and people like Usha Vance cozying up to people like Trump and J.D. Vance, right? And it's because by nibbling on that little bone and maybe being complicit in some damaging stuff, they gain just a little bit more proximity to whiteness in their mind, not in reality. Tokens get spent. But in the mind of a lot of people who are in that position, their position is getting them closer and closer to whiteness.
J'aime ça, cette phrase-là.
Quoi ça?
C'était vraiment très bien dit. Token get spent.
Ouais. Ben, non, mais c'est ça qui a été donné.
On les dépense et après on les discarte.
Non, mais c'est ça qui a été donné comme, tu sais, comme raison pour laquelle les femmes blanches ont voté pour Trump, parce qu'ils ont une facilité des proximités avec les hommes blancs. Fait que c'est facile pour une femme blanche d'être un token qui est passablement durable, qui est passablement vendable, qui est passablement... Tu sais, c'est facile de s'auto-tokeniser puis d'avoir un bon gain pour.
Je vois moins ça comme de la tokenisation, parce qu'encore là, les femmes sont pas une minorité comme telle. Là, mais...
Ouais.
Encore là, j'appelle plus ça du pygmisme. Mais c'est genre, ce que tu fais, toi, c'est d'être un pygmy, puis ce que la personne fait avec toi, c'est de te tokeniser.
Ouais, ok, je comprends ce que tu veux dire.
Dans ma petite définition interne.
Ce que tu appelles le pygmy, c'est comme l'auto-tokenisation. C'est d'accepter de se faire tokeniser, genre.
Mais là, tu fais genre, choisis-moi, je veux être ton token, regarde comment que je suis un bon petit... personne marginalisée.
Which will essentially differentiate them from people within their group. And that will overtake what you and I may see as them engaging in a little bit of self-deprecation. I think the thing that's been really frustrating to me ever since Trump became a thing is how many people just refuse to acknowledge that he is a racist and has always been a racist. And I am kind of happy to see that there are more and more Republicans who are finally starting to defect from Donald Trump, recognizing that the whole thing is getting a little extreme. And I think, unfortunately, for Republicans who were hitching their wagon to Donald Trump, I don't think they're going to win this one. I really, really don't, because Donald Trump is not willing to stick to Lee Atwater's strategy. Much of Trump's initial strategy can be attributed to Republican strategist Lee Atwater. Lee Atwater became known for the Southern strategy that essentially targeted people in the South predominantly, but also in other parts of the country that are predominantly white and impoverished, and sought to capitalize on racial tensions in order to essentially pull a lot of working class people who were more typically on the Democrat side into the Republican side. And the Southern strategy was successful predominantly because it hid blatant, hateful bigotry behind dog whistles.
Here's how I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all want to quote me. It's hard. I won't hear. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you keep saying that hurts your backfire. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you get so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than white. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing. And a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger niggers, you know. So any way you look at it, the race is coming on the back burner.
Keep in mind that Atwater was an advisor to Ronald Reagan, George Bush Sr., and was the head of the Republican National Committee. And it is worth noting that when this interview was initially released, Atwater did not want to be credited for it.
And we saw a really great example of the mask slipping on the Lee Atwater strategy by Republicans when Rich Lowry, who is the writer and former editor of the National Review, which is a conservative news and opinion magazine, had this to say in an interview with Megyn Kelly about Trump's comments about Haitian immigrants in Springfield.
You remember Alternative Facts with Kellyanne? They did the same thing. She wasn't saying you make up fictions and pretend they're facts. You bring other facts to bear in the debate that are being ignored. And that's what he was saying. And I think it was in that interview where Dana Bash says, the police have gone through 11 months of recordings of calls, and they've only found 2 Springfield residents calling to complain about Haitian migrants.
While he would go onto Twitter and say that what came out of his mouth was a combination of him
Holy fuck!
Oh my God.
Hey!
C'est pas un lapsus, là.
Ouais,
C'est le mot qui est venu naturellement.
Ouais, non, mais
c'est pas repris assez vite.
L'autre de tantôt, je veux dire, il a vécu dans des années où c'était normal. Je m'attends à ça, même si c'est pas mieux, là.
Non, mais c'était pas encore genre. C'était pas définitivement comme un slur comme que tu pouvais pas dire à l'époque.
Ouais, non, mais c'est ça. C'est pas correct, mais je m'attends.
Je peux pas l'excuser lui, mais là, on est en quoi, whatever, 2020 quelque chose qui a cette entrevue-là.
Je trouve pas ça plus acceptable en 1950, mais je suis moins surpris que ça l'arrive.
L'autre, il le disait consciemment, là. L'autre, il le disait consciemment. Oui, lui, il l'a échappé, là. C'est comme quasiment encore pire.
Lui, là, il a essayé de s'en cacher, là, puis là, on voit son vrai visage. C'est ça, là.
Le shadow, il est ressorti.
Man!
OK.
Hey, non, mais ça va rouler dans ma tête, ça, là, cette phrase-là. Là. Man, I can't unhear stuff.
Pronouncing the word migrant, it's pretty clear to me that this is a word that is on the back of his tongue, and people like Rich Lowry can no longer hide it anymore.
I've watched a lot of videos on TikTok from Trump supporters who explain why they voted for Trump, why they were in that camp, and why they left. Because there are, believe it or not, a sizable amount of Trump supporters who are going to vote for Harris. Now, of course, that doesn't totally surprise me because a lot of Harris's policies are a little bit more right-leaning than left-leaning, but that's another video that I will not be making. Check out my TikTok where I talk a little bit about that on there. But there are a lot of Republicans who are leaving Trump to vote for Kamala Harris. And when you listen to a lot of what they say, the common theme is honestly that they were afraid. And Donald Trump gave them what felt like solutions to their fears.
Republicans can't have a thriving middle class. When people can take care of their basic needs, they travel, they develop empathy, they get out and they see the world. And because they're not struggling, because they're not in a fight or flight, a panic mode, they're more open to the idea of helping others. When you're afraid of a refugee taking your $18 an hour job, you're much easier to manipulate. You're much easier to control with fear. When that job is the last thing standing between you and homelessness, you'll do anything to save it, especially when Republicans have dismantled safety nets. When you're desperate and looking for guidance and you go to church, and they've already lined up the church leaders with the same talking points, never had a chance. It's not a coincidence that the last time we had a truly great economy, we also had a booming middle class. And it's also not a coincidence that at that same time, even our most conservative Republicans would be socialists by today's standards. Republican leaders need you uneducated, they need you poor, and they need you afraid so that they can manipulate you more easily. The last thing they can have is a well-funded, healthy, secure middle class who develops empathy and tolerance for even those who might look and act differently from us, because it would cause them to lose their precious culture war.
And you know, it is a tale as old as time. Rich white men convincing poor white men that their biggest enemy is the black man next to them. And Haiti is a very potent country to target for many reasons, because, you know, Haiti was the first colony to liberate itself from slavery. And frankly, it's been punished for that ever since. When Donald Trump was listing off shithole countries, Haiti was on that list. And when that earthquake hit Haiti, many Haitians came to America. And during that time, Donald Trump would end the protected status for 60,000 Haitian immigrants in America. He would also state that Haitian immigrants were responsible for spreading disease and were also responsible for sexually assaulting American women and girls. Keeping in mind that Donald Trump has 26 accusations of sexual assault against him. I do think it says something about you as a person if you can listen to Donald Trump be as blatantly racist as he has always been and never at any point think that maybe this isn't someone you should vote for. But that all being said, I personally do want to celebrate the fact that it seems like the MAGA cult is crumbling, even falling out of vogue with some of his most passionate supporters. I'm sure that I am not the only person who felt this way, but when Biden dropped out, I did low-key feel a sigh of relief because I didn't like that man. I ain't never liked that man. Like I said, I don't like any presidential candidate. And I don't like Kamala Harris, but I do like that she's beating Donald Trump. And I do sort of enjoy watching Donald Trump flounder. And I really do think that his arrogance will be his downfall. Now, while a lot of the racial tension in Springfield, Ohio has been focused on Haitian immigrants, this is certainly not the first time Springfield has experienced racial tensions. In fact, Springfield was actually a stronghold for the revitalization of the Ku Klux Klan, and there has been a long history of violence against Black residents. In fact, between 1902 and 1904, 11 Black men were lynched in Springfield, Ohio, and Springfield had 2 race riots, one during 1906 and one during 1921. And you know, what a lot of people don't understand about lynchings is that they were a spectacle. I mean, going to a lynching was like going to see Shakespeare in the park for a lot of people. And I think that when we talk about lynching, we don't often really talk about that particular part of it. That the murder of Black people was a source of entertainment. People took photos, they made postcards, there were vendors. It was an event that had a time and a date. There were some situations where, sure, someone was just strung up on a tree, but they were also spectacles in many parts of the country. And Donald Trump got on stage recently and said that he wants to bring us back 300 years.
With crushing and eliminating every foreign gang and organized crime network that is conquering our country.
Genre des t-shirts marqués genre j'ai été à un lynching et tout ce que j'ai eu c'est ce stupide t-shirt. Qu'est-ce que tu vends pendant un lynching? Il y avait des fucking vendeurs. Genre moi je voyais plus ça comme genre je sais pas un pique-nique genre mais c'est plus fort genre c'était comme Shakespeare in the Park for white people.
Moi je voyais plus ça comme des gens qui vendaient comme après le lynchage dans des kiosques, des trucs, tu sais. Je sais pas aux States, tu sais, pour les lynchages, mais je sais qu'ici, le premier bourreau professionnel au Canada, il vendait comme souvenir des bouts de corde qui avaient servi à pendre tel et tel.
Ouais, non, j'ai pas l'impression que c'est de ça qu'elle parlait, là, mais c'est peut-être une autre affaire qui arrivait.
Moi, je pensais plus des souvenirs comme du lynché, tu sais, genre son linge, son stuff, son, tu sais.
Ouais, non, j'imagine que tout ça, ça allait à l'auction après, là.
Genre... je veux pas y penser. Puis j'ai le privilège de
pouvoir...
Et
un petit cornet de petites pinottes pour aller avec ton lynching, ça donne faim.
J'assume mon privilège ici de pas vouloir connaître le fond de cette histoire-là.
Il y a encore du monde qui sont sur ces photos-là, qui sont encore vivants aujourd'hui. Veux-tu pas qu'on le sache que c'est eux sur ces petites photos-là? Ça a-tu mal vieilli?
Conquering our country.
But they were also spectacles in many parts of the country. And Donald Trump got on stage recently and said that he wants to bring us back 300 years.
With crushing and eliminating every foreign gang and organized crime network that is conquering our country. They're conquering our country. We will deploy ICE, DHS, and other federal officials to go in and liberate Aurora. Can you believe I'm saying that?
Can you believe I have to say this? We are going to liberate parts of our country. Let's go back another 300 years. We are going to liberate our country.
Now, it's important to note as we talk about this that one of Trump's Project 2025 goals is to completely destroy the Department of Education, which would make history education, which they're now calling CRT, like the history of lynching in Springfield, Ohio, something that people didn't know about at all. And you can look back at the past of Springfield, Ohio, to see how the current racial tensions were able to take hold as much as they currently do. And of course, Trump is denying any involvement with Project 2025, but it's kind of hard to deny that when half of the people within Project 2025 are people that used to work for his campaign, and there's a foreword written for it by his current running mate. Trump's slogan for years has been "Make America Great Again," and he wants to bring America back to a time where apparently there were no immigrants, to this mythological, purely white America that frankly never existed. He's openly fantasizing about a time where he could feasibly own a Haitian slave. The West has resented Haiti for a very, very long time for being able to liberate itself from its white colonizers. But in truth, if Haiti truly is a shithole country, it's only that way because of America's constant interference.
Let's talk about the U.S. invasion and occupation of Haiti. In the early 1800s, Haiti overthrew the French in the largest slave insurrection in history. In turn, the U.S. placed a trade embargo on Haiti, and France demanded Haiti pay an independence debt. Haiti also experienced instability throughout its history, much of which was due to unfair debt and foreign interference. Between 1911 and 1915, 7 Haitian presidents were assassinated or overthrown. During that turmoil and a growing fear of German influence in Haiti, National City Bank of New York seized Haiti's only commercial bank that also served as the state treasury. In 1914, National City Bank destabilized Haiti and with the help of the U.S. government transported Haiti's entire gold reserve to Wall Street. In 1915, a revolt against this repressive Haitian president threatened U.S. profits, especially the sugar industry. When a rebel leader emerged as president, President Woodrow Wilson then ordered an official U.S. invasion of Haiti and installed this man as president without the consent of its citizens. The invasion ended with the Haitian-American Treaty of 1915, which created the Gendarmerie, a military force made up of U.S. Marines and Haitians. The treaty also gave the U.S. power to appoint officials, to veto decisions, and to control Haiti's economy. The U.S. then diverted 40% of Haiti's income to the U.S. Haitian rebels called Cacos immediately resisted this invasion. The U.S. violently suppressed them in the First Caco War. In 1917, Wilson drafted a new Haitian constitution to allow foreigners to buy land. When the Haitian legislature rejected this constitution, the U.S. dissolved the entire legislature, taking what little voice Haitians had left, and then implemented the new constitution. The U.S. immediately enacted martial law, introduced racist Jim Crow laws, abolished liberal arts education, persecuted voodoo, and implemented forced labor to build infrastructure, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands. These acts led to a second wave of resistance. Killing of civilians, lynchings, and torture were committed to suppress this revolt. Marines shot civilians for sport, and prisoners were routinely executed. The U.S. even used planes to bomb villages. In 1929, U.S. Marines fired upon people peacefully protesting in Lakai, resulting in over a dozen civilian deaths and causing international outrage. Under FDR, the U.S. ended the occupation and the last Marines left in 1934, but the U.S. still acquired roughly 20% of Haiti's annual revenue and controlled their economy until 1947. Haiti's loans were just forgiven after the devastating 2010 earthquake, and Citibank still hasn't returned the millions worth of gold. Today, Haiti is still recovering from centuries of foreign intervention, which inevitably causes migration.
Because the opportunities that have been stripped from them exist here in America. Haiti is in the position that it's in right now because of the United States. What no one talks about is the fact that the countries that these immigrants often immigrate to are the ones that are responsible for destroying the country that they're coming from. And yeah, some of these immigrants come to the United States for a better life, but they're only coming here for a better life because America has removed their ability to have one in their home country. There are a lot of Haitian immigrants who would love to return to Haiti, but the political and economic situation there is so bad that out of survival, they have to live in America. They have to live in a country other than the one that they came from. And sure, there are probably a lot of Haitian immigrants who have come to America and fully want to stay in America. But trust me when I say, many of them would be overjoyed to be able to go to their home country and live a life that was productive. I have wasted so much of my time trying to justify myself in the eyes of a racist. I have wasted so
évidemment,
much
c'est
of
en
my
grande partie de
time.
la faute de la France aussi, là, mais Cat Black est américaine. Son point de vue va plus centrer l'Amérique. Là, mais c'est sûr que leurs anciens maîtres
Ouais.
coloniaux sont encore probablement plus à blâmer que le soft et hard power que les États-Unis ont utilisé pour les mater depuis. Là. Bon, on ne peut pas comparer l'esclavage à rien d'autre que l'esclavage, bref. Là.
Trying to talk around someone like Donald Trump being a racist when it's so blatantly obvious to me. And many of you simply refuse to care about people of color enough to recognize that this rhetoric actually does get people killed.
Ah oui, l'histoire de la dette, là, de payer
D'habitude,
pour son propre
c'est le parti qui perd la guerre d'habitude.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Qui a une dette, qui a une réparation de guerre d'habitude à payer. Genre. Ils se sont fait péter la gueule.
Ouais.
Là, ils sont partis, puis là, ils sont pas contents. Donc, là, ils ont dit ouais, mais là, vous nous devez de l'argent. Puis là, à cause que genre, la marine américaine était capable de les aider à obliger cette dette à être honorée, ben, ils ont été obligés d'honorer la dette pendant longtemps. Alors, on se demande pourquoi que le pays est appauvri.
Ouais, c'est ça.
You're tired of hearing about racism. You're tired of people talking about this shit. But you're also going to promote blood libel. Yes, I said it. Against Haitians. This is the same shit that Nazis did to Jewish people. Nazis spread rumors that Jewish people were eating babies. And that was one of the many ways that violence was justified against them. That normal citizens were able to say, well, that sounds about right, and allow some of the worst violence our society has ever seen. I remember.
Ça a l'air qu'il y a près de la moitié des gens au Canada qui seraient d'accord avec le fait de déporter des gens. C'était peurant en tabarnak.
Ça fait peur en esti, hein? Et tu sais, il y en a combien là-dessus qui sont prêts à eux-mêmes prendre en charge la déportation des gens? Parce qu'on rappelle que des déportations de masse, ça n'existe pas. Là. Ça s'appelle une purge, un pogrom. Des camps de concentration et des exécutions sommaires, etc. Là. Mais, bref.
Ouais.
Ça regarde mal pour nous autres aussi.
Remember when I used to be on here and I used to get yelled at by people who were just so upset with the idea of associating Donald Trump with Nazism. When right now, at this point in the timeline, Donald Trump is quite literally citing neo-Nazi propaganda. And I'm so tired of people acting like Trump isn't who he says he is, isn't who he's shown himself to be. Like I said, I have not been making content about this election, and that has been intentional. I'm going to be very...
Mais c'est quoi cet argument-là? Même s'il avait pas... Même s'il était pas sincère dans ce qu'il dit, le simple fait qu'il soit prêt à dire ça pour convaincre un électorat, c'est passé. Moi,
c'est pas comme ce que le président disait avait pas d'importance.
Ouais, c'est ça.
Ça donne pas mal le ton à tout le pays. Là. Ils sont dans une espèce de vénération présidentielle permanente. Là. Fait que le fait que ça soit non seulement un raciste, mais en plus un criminel et un violeur, ben, ça légitimise toutes ces affaires-là. Là.
Ah, mais même juste au-delà de ça, je veux dire, si t'es prêt à dire des choses racistes pour que le monde y vote pour toi dans un quelconque contexte,
ben, t'es un raciste. Pas d'excuses, là. Genre, t'as pas besoin de croire à la supériorité de la race blanche ou peu importe, là, pour que ça soit effectivement du racisme.
Non, mais c'est ça. Puis il n'y a aucune différence entre ça puis être raciste pour vrai. Tu sais, je veux dire que ça a le même effet, là. Que tu fasses semblant d'être raciste ou que tu le sois pour vrai, là. Tu sais, le monde dit, mais il l'est pas pour vrai, on s'en fout.
Sinon, en plus d'être raciste, ben, il est malhonnête.
Ouais,
Moi, tant
c'est
qu'à
ça.
ça, j'aime mieux le raciste honnête.
Ouais.
Ben non. Mais.
Disons, au moins, le racisme que le monde, il pense honnête sur son racisme, parce que quand ils disent, c'est pas ça qu'ils pensent, là, ils l'excusent, puis ils font comme s'il était pas raciste. Fait que c'est pire, tu sais.
Non, mais je
Ouais,
n'irais
ouais.
pas jusqu'à dire que je l'aime mieux.
Ouais, non. Disons que t'aimes mieux dealer avec un qui est honnête qu'un qui l'est pas. C'est pas pareil. C'est pas qu'on les aime plus, on les aime pas plus, mais c'est quand même moins chiant à dealer.
Very honest with you guys and say that when I made that video years ago about the rebranding of white nationalism and I got harassed for it and I got attacked for it, it changed me. It really did, because the process of me putting that video together was kind of traumatic. I learned things that I didn't know, frankly, that I was frankly naive about, if I'm going to be blunt with you. And to try to point this out to people at the time and get dogpiled for it and have so many people say that I was crazy, making shit up and pulling the race card and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. It discouraged me from feeling like I need to put a lot of my energy into creating this political content, because especially being someone like myself on the internet, I'm just always going to get harassed and attacked for it. Right. And I did have to weigh at a certain point whether or not the flavor of harassment I wanted was Nazism. So I backed away from these topics, and I backed away from it very intentionally because I wanted to protect my own peace. And frankly, I've been online for a very long time. You can pretty much figure out how I feel about Donald Trump. But honestly, I am looking forward to him fading out of our news cycle. I am so sick and tired of talking about this man. And I know that Republicans are getting tired of talking about this man. And I hope, even as a person who's not crazy about Kamala Harris, that she gets elected and that Donald Trump fades, really, really fades into obscurity. And I hope this is the very last time I utter his name on my channel. So on that note, I think I will leave you guys with this. Let me know how you guys felt about all of this, especially.
Ouais, c'était ça. Moi, j'ai bien aimé. Je l'avais écouté comme juste, je n'avais écouté juste la moitié, puis.
Une couple de fois, elle est vraiment capable d'aller trouver des affaires atterrantes. Là. Genre, la dernière fois aussi, là, on avait le gars qui il disait pratiquement les 14 mots en mangeant tranquille.
Oui.
Là, il y avait le gars qui a juste échappé le mot en haine. Genre.
Ouais, non, assez punché, on va dire ça comme ça. Écoute, j'ai-tu besoin de te rappeler qu'il faut que tu cotes ce bout-là au montage, parce que si tu mets ça sur Twitch, ça va se... Non, mais tu sais, je veux dire, dans le contexte, je comprends pourquoi elle le passe, puis j'ai pas de problème à ce qu'elle le passe. Parce que, tu sais, moi, je censure pas le nazisme des nazis, là, fait que...
Non, mais elle a le droit de pas le censurer. Moi, je me permettrais pas la même chose. Mais là, en même temps, je peux pas faire l'édit quand que je le mets sur Twitch, fait que ça va être ça.
De quoi ça, tu peux pas faire l'édit quand tu le mets sur Twitch?
Ben, sur Twitch, c'est le VOD, c'est l'intégrale. Sur YouTube, c'est. Mais ça va passer parce que c'est déjà une vidéo YouTube. Là, mais disclaimer d'avance pour le mot
clairement.
censuré.
Ben, je veux dire.
C'est pas nous, elle a le droit.
Ouais. Ben,
c'est pour illustrer.
J'avoue que même si c'était un nazi, je censurerais probablement le mot.
Je veux dire. C'était clip-là, ça se passe tellement vite, genre ça frapperait bien moins si c'était censuré. Là. On serait pas capable de catcher la gravité.
Oui, non, c'est ça.
Comment qu'il l'a juste échappé.
Entre la personne qui l'a posté, qui est la personne qui a se sentir safe avec ça, puis le fait que c'est pas... c'est pas une caution du mot, là. C'est vraiment là.
Clairement
Si
pas.
vous voulez un bon exemple, si vous voulez un exemple d'un mot en haine qui n'a pas d'être censuré, là, vous en avez eu un à soir. Fait que ceux qui disent on crie on tient pas compte du contexte, là, voulez-vous un cas où on tient compte du contexte? On en a eu un à soir. Puis vous voyez, tu sais. C'est ça.
Ah, les gars. Non, c'était bien.
Ouais. Ah, écoute, avec Cat Black, je vais en repasser, puis...
Ouais, elle est bonne. Ça fait
comme
partie de notre
moi, j'ai
roster.
l'intention d'en remettre, fait que, tu sais, si jamais t'as
Ami
envie
du
de passer
pod.
de son stock, oui, vraiment. J'aime sa perspective, puis sa discussion. Ouais, non, Fait que, écoute, c'était ça. Ça a été un bon stream.
Ça a été un bon
pour
stream, écoute.
pour 2 semaines.
On n'était pas trop rouillés après
Non.
2 semaines d'absence.
Non, c'était correct. En tout cas, j'espère que vous ne nous avez pas trouvé trop rouillés.
Il y a eu des bouts que c'était un petit peu pénible à soir avec.
Ah là, mais
surtout Boucard, là.
le sujet, oui, c'est ça, on s'entend, là.
Mais bon, on est passé à travers. Je pense qu'il fallait qu'on en parle de toute façon.
Ouais,
là, mais,
ouais, on n'avait pas le choix, on pouvait pas passer à côté de ça. Là.
On a même perdu Pierre. Pierre n'est pas revenu. Pierre nous a quittés. Il nous a cancellés.
Il pouvait pas stander.
Ah ben, il l'a dit, là, c'était insupportable.
Ouais, mais c'était pénible. What a time to be alive. Merci pour le stream, ça fait plaisir. Puis c'était la vidéo.
Ouais, c'est 4 Black, en effet.
Oui, c'était 4 Black, effectivement. Fait que c'était ça. Écoute, moi j'ai l'intention d'être là vendredi. Moi, tout va bien de mon côté. Fait que.
Ouais. Je pense qu'on devrait être capable d'en faire une coupe. Peut-être que comme pendant le temps des fêtes, ça va être un peu moins fiable, là, mais faudrait qu'on se remette à l'horaire.
Oui.
Vendredi.
De toute façon, toi, dans la dernière semaine ou à peu près, techniquement, c'était impossible pour toi, si je ne m'abuse.
Ouais, techniquement, ou tu vois, problème de fatigue chronique.
Bon. Ouais, non, de toute façon.
Panique nocturne. Mais bref, là, tu vois, j'ai pas l'intention de faire des excuses, là, mais on
c'est pas.
On a l'intention de reprendre. C'est ça. Peut-être qu'il va y avoir d'autres interruptions pendant le temps des fêtes, parce que je sais pas exactement ce qu'est l'horaire de tout ce qui se passe. Là, mais,
toi, Nambi.
Moi, je m'en calisse de Noël, disclaimer. Là, on n'est pas super pro-Noël. Là, c'est pas quelque chose qui m'énerve beaucoup. Fait que ça se peut qu'on...
Mais toi, Nambibi, t'es en France, c'est ça, si je comprends bien. Fait que pour toi, il arrive 6h du matin. Il est 5h45, là, quelque chose comme ça.
Ouais, ça s'écoute très bien pendant une insomnie. Écoute, on peut lurker aussi. On aime nos lurkers, on aime tout le monde. À nos
sans t'être pas obligé de commenter. Soyez bien raqué. Même moi, je baille, tu sais. Fait que...
Mais c'est ça, mais merci à tous d'être passés nous voir pour notre grand retour. Et puis, on va se revoir vendredi, donc cinéma su, donc un sujet, long vidéo, beaucoup de divergences comme d'habitude.
Ouais, moi j'ai ma petite idée, on va checker ça. Puis si t'as des idées, ben.
Ouais, on s'en reparle en meeting.
Fait que passez une belle fin de soirée, puis ayez bien du plaisir, puis prenez soin de vous autres.
Prenez soin de vous et de vos proches. Bonne semaine.